See, I do too, but here's what I'm thinking. We started that whole thing before the quarantine, so maybe at the end of the quarantine, we'll finish off the hot dog thing to like make that the sandwich period.
The sandwich period.
I just heard it as I said it.
That makes no sense if it's hot dogs, though.
We're getting to that. Okay, what was your food related topic?
No, I just wanted to know what you had for dinner.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad you asked that. I was just about to talk about it. I made another plate of nachos, and I regret it as just enough, or I regret it the exact same amount that I've regretted every single plate of nachos I've had for the past year.
Every single plate.
Yeah, so I think you had one of those with me, right? I think I've made like 4 of them so far.
Well, yeah, if you're talking like the massive 10-pound plate of nachos.
Okay, so I've scaled it down from 10 pounds because I realized that was just getting very wasteful. Because even at 2 pounds, I'm still not getting through the whole thing because it's 2 pounds of nachos. That is a lot of nachos.
That is a lot of nachos.
So I made 2 pounds of nachos. Emily and I just gorged ourselves. We got about halfway through, so we got through like a pound of it or so, and then we both just looked at each other and just groaned, and now feel terrible about ourselves. But it was so worth it. Like I regret it.
It's
but
Friday night, so you know.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
I regret it, but I want to do it again. Like it's a weird feeling. It's like being drunk and like throwing up just a little bit. Like not enough to make you really regret it, but just enough to give you a good story.
A good story about throwing up.
You can have a good story about throwing up. Anyways, that's what I was doing. What'd you have for dinner?
I actually cooked myself a nice fried egg sandwich.
Ooh, that actually sounds kind of lovely. What'd you put on it?
I have this weird thing about liking to, if I'm going to cook something, I like to cook as much of it as I can in one pan, so there's as little dishes as possible.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I first cooked the hash brown patties since those take the longest.
Okay.
So I cooked those, and then I sauteed some onions. Then I did some bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I cooked the egg. And then I put it all together and put on some sourdough bread. So the interesting part about it was that obviously I put salt, pepper, a little bit of cayenne pepper on there for some flavor. Mm-hmm. And then I also put some hot sauce and some ketchup as well. But the interesting thing I tried this time was mustard. And it was actually really good because it wasn't a lot. It was just enough so that you had a little bit of tang from the vinegar. And it was really good.
It sounds like it works, but that's a lot. How many sauces were you putting on again? Did you only list like 2 or 3? You said it at the same time as salt.
Well, it was hot sauce. Well, yeah, because there's the spices.
Okay.
That I like ground onto the sandwich, and then there's just the ketchup, mustard, and hot sauce.
Ketchup, mustard, and hot sauce. I guess that works.
Yeah, because I didn't put a lot of hot sauce on it because I had the cayenne pepper on it already.
Yeah.
And I didn't put like a whole lot of ketchup or mustard on it either because it's already pretty greasy as it is, so you don't need a lot of fluid.
Honestly, like it sounds good. It also sounds like a hot mess.
Oh, it is absolutely a hot mess, but it's basically just a breakfast sandwich. It's delicious. I love it. It's a lot of work to make since I'm cooking all in like one pan. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I like about the giant flat top stoves you find in commercial kitchens is you can cook everything simultaneously and then just slap the sandwich together and you're good to go.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good having a giant stove. You know, I started getting in the mood for breakfast sandwiches a while ago too, because there was one that was very prominently shown in Birds of Prey. It came out like right before everything happened. It wasn't good. Do you know what the movie was? I don't know if I should explain it.
I have no idea.
Okay, the quick synopsis is that it was the follow-up to what was it? The DC movie that everybody hated.
Aquaman.
No, the other DC movie.
Green Lantern.
No, the other DC movie that everybody hated.
Batman versus Superman.
No, keep going. Why am I not thinking of it? No, with all the supervillains.
Oh, Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad. It was the follow-up to Suicide Squad. So it was Birds of Prey. So it was all about the women of Suicide Squad. It was like a woman version of Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's okay. That's right. This is ringing a bell now.
Yeah. Anyways, the movie was absolutely terrible. It was kind of fun to watch girls beat up people for a while, but it was just, I don't know.
That's right. I remember you talking about that now.
Yeah, I think I rolled my eyes 10 to 15 times during the movie just saying, come on, are they really doing this now? Like, it was just a bunch of that kind of stuff. But anyways, the whole movie is based, and I really did enjoy this plot point. The whole movie is based around a breakfast sandwich. Like it's like the opening shot is of this breakfast sandwich, and then the last shot of the movie is of this breakfast sandwich that she finally gets in the end. Like it was great how they did that
So you're
particular
saying
part.
the whole movie is sandwiched by those two shots?
You're getting it. You're getting it. Just like hot dogs.
Okay.
Mm.
Wait. I thought hot dogs weren't sandwiches. I thought we agreed on that.
No, see, they're not. But it's ironic that you can sandwich things with hot
got
dogs.
you.
See,
Okay,
you could make a hot dog sandwich, but then the hot dogs would have to be the bun. I don't know. No, maybe they like.
Well, no, you just used like regular bread, and then it's a hot dog sandwich.
That's true, but you'd have to cut each hot dog in half. Okay, we're getting away from what we're really talking about here. Anyways, there was a very good looking breakfast sandwich that was featured in that movie, and so I've been making quite a few breakfast sandwiches. Emily's favorite recipe for this is 2 pieces of, I usually use either white or wheat bread. I think it's wheat bread that I'll use, and I will toast those in a pan and then put a whole bunch of cheese on top, just like a grilled cheese, and then I'll fry an egg in the same pan and then flip that on top. And then it's like a grilled cheese sandwich with a fried egg in the middle. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it was. I remember one time, I like fried egg sandwiches, but I remember one time at an old job, I asked the chef to make me a fried egg sandwich, and he looked at me kind of weird, and he's like, "What?" And I explained to him, "Yeah, you just fry an egg and put it on some bread." And I don't know, he acted like he had never heard of that. So apparently that's not as common as I would think, but yeah, I don't know.
I guess you get fired.
I don't know. He made a good one though. Once I explained it to him.
Sorry, one sec. Oh, there we go. So I had another topic that was kind of related to that. So as I was eating this grotesque looking plate of nachos, I was trying to find something to watch because that's getting very difficult now. Like very,
you're running through your material.
I'm running through it faster than I ever thought was possible. So recently I found it's a new channel that's related to theme parks and theme parks going under. Sorry, give me one more second. Oh man, I'm drinking a carbonated water, so I'm burping a lot. Anyways, sorry, it's a channel related to a whole bunch of theme parks that have gone under. So it's called Defunct Land. And me and Emily have
basically, oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, Emily and I have basically started like every day for the past 2 weeks watching one of his videos because they're about 45 minutes long. And for some reason, it's just the best thing to wake up to. It's just like the right tone and the right mood. And so I'm learning all about Disneyland and all of like the weird projects that they've ever done. But anyways, I wanted to bring it up. First of all, it's a great channel and everybody should check it out. But what have you been doing during this whole thing? Because you watch a lot of YouTube, but you must have run through all your material at this point. Like, what do you watch now?
Yeah, YouTube recommendations is what I usually just go for, but I usually have to scroll pretty far before I start to find something I actually want to watch these days.
Yeah, it's taken a while.
So, I mean, I have plenty of Age of Empires videos I can watch, and those are oftentimes anywhere from a minimum of 15 usually, if it's a quick game, to up to an hour. Or more if it's an entire, like, just straight VOD ripped from a Twitch stream.
Okay.
Of, like, a tournament. So usually that's what I have as my, I watched all the good, well-produced stuff, and now I'm just going to watch Age of Empires videos.
Gotcha.
So that definitely more than enough content there, I think.
Yeah, maybe I'll start getting into streamers. I mean, that's the one group that's definitely not going to get hit by this whole thing. Game streamers are doing good.
Speaking of streamers.
Oh man,
that's a great segue into our first topic.
We're hopping through topics like crazy. Oh right, that topic. Okay,
this is our first topic. What are you talking about?
Is it? I thought I had something right before that.
So
whatever. Well, hold on. Let me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Though.
Explain to me, who is Cardboard Cowboy? What is this thing that I
don't know. I don't even know.
Okay.
So, Michael's been into streaming obviously recently, and so he likes to find someone to raid after his stream is over.
Gotcha.
So he raided someone. His stream was just ending, so he's like, "Hey, you want to see a cardboard? You want to see a cowboy?" And of course, we said yes. And this was the channel he sent us to. And it was the most surreal experience. Like, it was straight out of the interdimensional cable from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I was just couldn't stop watching, but I was unable to figure out what was happening. So what it is it's a guy who's called the Cardboard Cowboy. That's his handle on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
But he commits to it by wearing a cardboard, what is it, like a gallon hat, gallon cowboy hat,
10-gallon hat,
and then like a cardboard bandana, and then he has this extremely elaborate animations of cardboard characters and cardboard scenes and such, with his head imposed on like the body of a cardboard cowboy and stuff. And I don't know how he does it, but then he had a sequence where he's like, so people can request a song with the donation, and he'll like have this dance routine with the characters and stuff, but his head is there. And so I visited him twice because it's not really my thing. It's just enough to be, oh, that's
mildly
interesting, and I'm really weirded out by this almost, but I can't stop watching. Mm-hmm. But there's this thing I guess he does called recap time.
Okay.
Where he just starts to go on a story about a somewhat made up story about how he wanted to, I don't know, like, oh, his dad like left to go to the store for some cigarettes and all that.
Okay.
But so it just goes on and on, but there's some really weird stuff that he throws in there. And the story changes slightly every single day.
Wait, what's this weird stuff that he throws in there?
So like one of them was a recreation of a couple lines of the Room with Tommy Wiseau.
Uh-huh.
So he actually had like a little skit where it was the oh hi Mark part.
Uh-huh.
And he put that in there. And then also, since I watched him 2 days in, I checked him out for about.
Are the animations moving to the scene? Like, is that how he's doing this, or?
Well, yeah, it's like I don't understand how it's if he like makes all these animations ahead of time and then he just has a bunch of like software to go to the next video or something, or what. I don't know how it's all set up technically. But.
I think he's using Adobe. Usually with Adobe you can like build the frame of a person. Like you can do like a wire thing of like these are where the joints are, and then I think you can download like pre-built animations.
I get that. But he has a lot of different scenes. Yeah. That's what I don't understand. He
put some time into it.
Yeah, he has some like repeating stuff like skiing and all that, but it was so surreal. Because the second day I went, he was making references to the story he had told about how he like grew up and how he got to where he was. References to the story he had told the day before. So like one of them was, oh, so Chat told me to get a wombat, but I said no. Chat, shut up. And Chat kept saying, get a wombat, and I said no. And then the next day he says something along the lines of, so he made a reference to how Chat used to do that, but now Chat's saying get a squirrel or something like that. What? So it's this really weird thing where it's like the story builds on itself every day. It's like slightly different every day, but like the animation was different. He's like, so in the first day he got kicked down into a well by his horse. Okay. But the second day he got kicked by his horse, but not into the well because the well's in the other direction. it was just I still can't wrap my head around it because I've never had like a break a character or anything, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I just can't figure it out. What he plays Animal Crossing. I saw some of that in his VODs.
Yeah.
But
maybe he's trying to like build the best story possible, and so he's trying new things out with like variations to see what the best.
Well, he's not like exactly an elegant storyteller. It's just So it's just amusing.
The only thing that I've seen from him so far, besides a couple of the animations where I was like, I don't know what I'm watching on Twitch, but I'm glad this exists. With just his cardboard scenes of like him throwing a bomb or a football or something. I don't know what he was doing, but there was a couple clips of him like playing PUBG and I think Fortnite. And what he'll do is he tries to find any kind of weapons that are canon to what cowboys would be able to use. So he'll only go around and he'll only find shotguns or revolvers, and then he'll play Western music over it. It's so good. You got a chicken dinner.
He has so much happy. Set up.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So he just like at any time it's like, oh, here, I'm going to like play some music or like switch to this scene real quick. Or I'm so interested in how he has it all set up and how he performs.
That man is living his
It's
best
because
life. I want it.
dude, it is crazy
There's so
because
much.
he's getting like hundreds and hundreds of viewers.
Yeah, that's commitment. It's amazing.
But it was weird because it was late at night, and so it was such a surreal moment when I was watching that. I just had no idea what was happening.
Oh man, that's good.
But that's one of the gems you can find on Twitch, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, since we're talking about games already, how about you? Well, you know what? Hold on. I want to come back to Doom Eternal because I think I still have more on this list than you. Maybe we'll do a one for you, one for me thing. Okay, so what I've been watching. Let me go with that instead. What I've been watching is Miracle Workers. So it's a new show that came out by TBS. Have you seen anything from this? I don't remember if I sent you a trailer for it or anything.
I think you've told me a synopsis of it once, and I can't even remember.
Okay.
You haven't sent me any footage.
Okay, so it's a new show with Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi, and Steve Buscemi is known for a whole bunch of stuff, and Daniel Radcliffe everybody knows except for Jacob because he doesn't watch Harry Potter.
I know now because you made fun of me that one time.
Anyways, Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi, it's really really good. So I loved it because I was looking for something to watch because I started hitting that point like a week or so ago of like, okay, TV's starting to get pretty thin. Like I'm starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. We got to find some new stuff. And so I saw this show Miracle Workers and I go, oh, it's in season 2. I've never heard of it before. And so I looked up a trailer, and in the very beginning of the trailer, it's just Steve Buscemi, who's like, so you never seen him, but he basically looks like a scraggly old man. Like he's like the best kind of like just scraggly old man that you'd assume is homeless without knowing who he is. And he gets up and he's
Okay.
pretending to be, I think he's pretending to be God or Jesus, and he just stands up and goes, well, I've decided to blow up the earth. And that was the trailer for the TV show. I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like I actually stopped the trailer at that point and I was like, Emily, we're turning this on right now and we're watching through it. So I ended up binging the whole 2 seasons within a day and a half or something. It is so incredibly funny. And I don't actually want to talk about the TV show. I want to talk about something on the periphery with this. But just so you know, it's really cool. In fact, I think you'll particularly like it because you like when TV shows like have just one singular arc over the whole show. And what this show does is every season the theme changes. And I had no idea that was happening. It was really jarring to see at first. But season 1 is all about God and all of God's workers answering prayers on earth. And it's just about that. And there's one singular arc and it's a really good arc. And then for season 2, all of a sudden the guy who plays God is all of a sudden a poop farmer or something, or a poop picker. I don't know. They're in the Middle Ages. And one of the guy is a king. And he's, I don't know, it's just this whole thing of them in the Middle Ages making jokes on millennials.
But the story doesn't.
No.
Are the stories tied in from season to season?
So it's a totally different story, and it's a totally each cast member has a completely different character, but there's still that cast member. Yeah. So it's like a moving comedy. It's an interesting way they're doing it, but I'm really enjoying it. Like as soon as I got used to the whole thing, I'm like, oh, okay, I actually appreciate these like singular stories because they're really good stories for single seasons. Like they do a really good job of that. Anyways, the reason I wanted to talk about it was because it started making me mad because I watched this on YouTube TV. And YouTube TV...
Does that make you mad?
Well, kind of now. So YouTube TV is kind of split into 2 categories. So a lot of the stuff like through... If you're watching like... I don't know, like PBS or something. Whatever you're seeing, it's going to record everything. So if you want to watch something that was on PBS like 2 days ago, you can pretty much just go search it and find it. You can also go do that with other channels like TBS, which is the channel that Miracle Workers is on, but it's part of their like on-demand service. So it seems like what's happening is they have a deal with these companies to basically make their own like miniature streaming services within YouTube TV. So there's extra like ad breaks and stuff when you watch their giant library, which I don't mind. Like it's not the live stuff. That stuff stays the same. It's just normal broadcasting. But anything in their library kind of acts like you're on Hulu, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But what they do with it, and this gets me mad, what they do with it is it usually comes with 2 to 3 ad breaks. So you'll be going through and then there'll be like a minute thing and then another minute and then another minute. And you don't really mind if you're used to like ads on TV. It's honestly not terrible at all. But if you're binging it and you watch multiple episodes in a row, then there's 5 ad breaks. And each ad break has 6 ads per thing. And each ad is 30 seconds long. And This is the most devious part. This is the most diabolical.
Oh
They
boy, what do
they're
they do?
they're not evenly spaced out. They're all smashed at the back end of the episode. So right after,
Oh
yeah, so
man.
after you've watched most of the episode, you're like, you know what? I'm sticking through this no matter what because that's just what I'm gonna do. That's when you get hit with like 4 or 5 ads in a row. It is the most frustrating
Ugh.
thing in the world. It is just, I don't know. I couldn't believe. I was like, I see what you're doing here, and I'm not happy about it. But I stuck around and I watched. Hmm.
That's so annoying.
Yeah,
Makes my skin crawl just thinking about it.
I know, right? It was
I don't
weird.
like what you're telling me.
I know. So, anyways, now I need more TV in my life, and honestly, I might go with The Expanse. I know that you've been watching The Expanse. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I still haven't even gotten past the first season
Really?
because I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
What? What? Why?
So, have you? Okay, have you seen the show first? I need to ask. Have you seen it?
I saw an episode a while ago. I saw episode 1 a while ago, and I remember that it's in space. That's all I remember.
Okay, yeah, that was why I hadn't interested in the first place. Is because I realized I just really tend to like sci-fi, and so I thought, okay, I've been kind of feeling like a sci-fi recently. I've heard good things about this. Let's give it a try. And I'll probably dip in its spoilers, but I don't know. It's just the acting is so subpar that it really kind of takes you out of the story.
Hmm.
And then it's also, I feel like the writing's not the greatest either. But also there's this big point that they're leading up to. And this was what kept me going through all of the first season. It's just like, yeah, okay, you have this big mystery that you like, you're building up to. I just want to find out what it is. And it's not revealed very well.
Hmm.
Like what they're ultimately going to be fighting against for probably the rest of the show. And they dropped like some hints like in the episodes prior to the final season, the final episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this is what it is. They're being a little over the top about that. And then they show it and I'm like, yeah, okay, I know exactly what it is. I don't really feel like watching the rest of it now because I feel like I kind of figured it out on my own, even though
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can tell you exactly what it is if you want, but
Nah, I don't.
that's basically how I feel. Is just I feel like there's nothing interesting they could provide to me now, plot wise or anything.
Did you ever? You never saw Lost, did you? Do you remember the whole thing about that
I
one?
didn't know.
Okay, so Lost was the big. It was like the pre-Game of Thrones phenomenon in TV around like 2005. I want to say maybe it was before that. It was around that period. It was like early 2000s, and the whole show like it enraptured everyone because it was about. Do you remember the plot at all? I don't know how much detail I should go into.
Something about being lost on an island
Yeah, so the
and
whole plot.
numbers.
Yeah, yeah, the numbers. So a plane goes down. It's like flight something. Who cares and everything. And then there's this big group of people that get stranded on an island and they have to learn how to survive. And they start putting together that like everyone is there for weird reasons. Like one guy just won the lottery through a very specific set of numbers. Another guy's a doctor who had a weird thing with his dad. Another guy, had his legs broken and then his legs are now magically working. Like it's all these different things. And as they explore the island, they find things like in one episode they found a polar bear just like walking through the island. And like it was a full-on polar bear they brought onto the set in order to do this. It was stuff like that that they kept revealing, and then nothing. Like the show went on for like 8 seasons, and they just kept building mysteries, and everyone like was on the edge of their seat going, "What the hell's going on?" And then in the last episode, well, okay, I don't know. I feel bad still just giving away the ending just because it was just one of those endings. But you know what? Hold on. No, if
I'm okay. If it's 8 seasons, I'm not going to watch that ever.
I know, and if everyone already knows that Snape kills Dumbledore, I guess I shouldn't matter with this one. Okay, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this amazing ending?
I'm so excited.
Okay, they were dead the whole. No, not the whole time. They weren't dead the whole time. They died, and the last episode just takes place in heaven with the good guys and the bad guys just meeting each other and saying, "Hey, it's all right, it's cool," and then they just like walk off into the sunset, and the dog you find out still lives. That was
Okay.
that
At
was
least
the
the
whole.
dog lives.
That was the whole last episode. It was the most
Wait. So
ridiculous
they
thing.
were dead. So they were dead in the last episode or since the beginning of the show?
No, so it's like they led up to this big climax where there was this big because you find out there's like this big secret organization and they have to go after them and They flew them after they got off the island. They went back to the island to go try to do like 2 or 3 things or something. And then right as they're about to do like this big encounter with one another, and you think one of the main characters is dying and he has to do his one last final amazing act, it just flips to them being dead. And they're just all in heaven chatting about how crazy the whole thing was. It's like, yeah, that was weird, right? Yeah, I'm
Oh
sorry I
my
did that to you.
gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my
they had
gosh.
the
That's so
murderers.
bad.
They had the murderers meeting the people they murdered and just going like, "Man, I'm sorry I did that, dude." He's like, "You know what? It's cool. Like, we're all good."
Oh my.
Oh yeah, It's just known as one of those like, just how on earth could
That
you do
is.
this kind of ending?
Did they like. What? If you
Yeah,
ran out of budget, then skimp on some other part, not the payoff of 8 seasons.
yeah. Seriously, I think it actually. Let me see. How many seasons was it? See, I like when we record these podcasts remotely. I mean, we've always recorded them remotely, but it's really nice being able to Google things in the middle of them. Lost seasons. I see six seasons, I guess. Yeah, 6 seasons
Okay,
long.
so
That's still a long time.
okay, so
That's
it's
6 years.
only 75% is worse. That's bad.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, I think what you're running into with that show is a problem with a lot of TV shows, and I kind of feel bad for like this new way that we watch them, because a lot of these TV shows were kind of built to be watched, one episode at a time, over a long period of time and everything. Like you'd have a season that would release, and then every week you get a new episode and stuff. So there was this big span of time, and people would kind of forget things about episodes and then remember them as time went on. Like that's how a lot of TV, well, that was how all TV was written a little while ago. And as I've been going through and watching it, because Emily's been watching another show. She's been watching a show called Eureka, which is another like sci-fi show that Sci-Fi Channel threw on right after Stargate ended. Um,
Okay.
it's really badly, okay, it's not badly written, but you can tell they're switching out writers. Like you can tell there's stuff going on behind the scenes that's causing this to not be very good. Like you'll just see like a plot line will just like drop dead. Like one of the plot lines is like there's this, like mystery artifact that's being kept inside of the vaults, inside of the factory and everything. And then
And then they get it, and then they just leave it in storage.
yeah, so in this one, it just stopped working because they wanted to redo it because they got some new writer who wanted to redo the whole cast. So they
Oh
traveled back in
gosh.
time and switched out some of the characters because they time traveled. And in their new reality, one of the kids who was like interacting with it, just wasn't able to anymore, and now like it just wasn't working. So they're like, "Huh, this thing's broken. I guess we shouldn't worry about it anymore." And then they just kind of kept going. Like it's just it's I don't know. I feel bad for them because I'm sure this is something they run into a lot. Like it's hard to keep people on payroll. Like if one of your writers is a woman and she has a kid, like you can't. You're just not going to keep her on. That's just not going to happen unless like she's really dedicated to keeping it on. She's got other stuff. She's got better things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's unfortunate though.
I feel bad picking out a woman right there, and I feel like this is going to come to bite me in the butt. That same thing happens with men too. Like both men and women get dropped from staff. That was just an example.
It was just an example.
I just feel bad. This feels like one of those moments where it's like, yeah, this is going to come to bite me in the butt in like 15 years.
It's okay. You could just edit it out.
Yeah, that's true. I could just edit it out.
You could just edit yourself saying in like a duck.
One of the actors gets a pet duck, and it takes up all of his time. And so they couldn't use the actor anymore. Anyways, yeah, so it just seems to happen with TV shows. And that's too bad it's happening with The Expanse. It seems like you need a very strong picture of how this thing is going to be 5 seasons in. And most TV shows just don't have that kind of foresight. Like, they just don't know what's going to be, like, through this whole thing. You know what's another good...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Finish your thought.
I'm just trying to think of, because I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but the few I have liked, something like Battlestar Galactica, they had like a few major driving plot points that weren't resolved until the final season.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was what really helped that show a lot. Just because from the very beginning you knew what like in the what is it, the miniseries that actually takes place before the actual TV show.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, where they give you they tell you exactly what's happening and exactly what the plan is and what everyone's trying to do. And I don't know, I like that better than like in the spending the entire first season building up the characters and the mystery. So
yeah. I don't know. I mean, that show had the nice ability. Well, not the nice ability. That show had the benefit of being. I don't know if it was a sequel. I don't know what you'd call it. A remaster or a remake, I guess.
Oh, remake,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a full remake of something that already happened, so they're able to kind of complete it. Speaking of speaking of remakes, anyways, we'll get to Final Fantasy VII remake in a second. But
You just want to talk
I'm
about that.
so excited for it. It's so okay. The oh god, okay, TV shows. We're talking about TV shows. We're talking about remakes, right? Yeah, it's got that benefit, and that's kind of the nice. That was the nice thing with Game of Thrones as well. Like, regardless of how that last season just kind of belly flopped, the whole show was kept together because those strings were so well kept up, and like you were saying, like the arc sometimes it kind of peaks in like the first season, and then all of a sudden kind of fiddles off till towards the end. One of the nice things about Game of Thrones is because most of those books were written, the arc actually felt like I don't know, just absolutely wonderful. Like you could see all
It
these
felt natural.
yeah, you could see all these characters naturally developing and evolving and everything felt perfect in the show, which is why it's got such a reverence in the community still, even though everyone it's so hard to go back to that show, dude. I have not been able to watch Game of Thrones again yet. I think
Is it because of the bad last season?
yeah, man, it leaves such a bad taste in your mouth. I think what I'm gonna do this next time, because I think in like a month or so I'll be ready to start going through it again, and who knows, we might have another month of this. But I think I'm going to watch everything and then take a break before I turn on the last season, and then just kind of remind myself that that's more of like a fanfic than anything else. Just like pretend to write it out a little bit before I start it. Just because nobody was happy with it, the actors weren't happy, that everyone was upset about that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna find a single person who is happy with it.
No, it was weird. There's a big joke going around in the community now that that Dave and Dan picked up the show because they love killing off characters, and the last character they killed off was the show itself. So the whole last season is just them murdering it. And man, when you hear man, it's so incredibly bad. It's just weird because I don't know, it feels like it was written by someone who hates Game of Thrones. It was just a weird thing. It wasn't even like poorly put together. Like it was masterfully put together in the most diabolical way possible. I don't know, man. It was
Well, when you put it that way, it actually sounds way better.
well, like
It's like they did the exact opposite of everything that would have made the season good.
okay, so some of the okay, so I was following the show very closely because I was a book person before I was a show person and blah blah blah. And you notice things throughout the whole thing that have kind of been blown up by the community now, but there's one character in there, and his whole arc is how he had that incestuous relationship with his sister. I'm sure you're aware of that one.
Yeah.
And so at some point in the show, he finally has this turning point where he's like, I love the people and I want to do what's right for humanity. So he gets on his horse, he rides up to the north to go take on the big threat of the world. He's going to sacrifice his life to help everyone because he knows what a terrible person he is. And then right after that battle's over, he's like, you know what? I actually don't like this is real dialogue. He just says, why would you think I care about people? I don't care about people. I'm going back down and riding to go protect my sister. And then he abandons everybody and rides back down. And then in the next scene, he's fighting against them. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, it is the strange. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. It was not. I don't know. Like that's why I'm saying it wasn't like it was done poorly. Like there was a couple things in there that were done kind of poorly, but it was just more like, why? What? What are you doing?
Well, that sounds like it's done poorly because it's just so inconsistent.
It's incredibly inconsistent. It was inconsistent in the weirdest way. One of the other big things, and this was just a strange one, was that the main city, King's Landing, like in the first couple of seasons you see it, and there's like this big forest where you have to ride through it and everything in order to get to the city, and there's all these trees around it, so it looks almost like a Disneyland kind of thing. Like you go through the little like magic pathway and stuff, and then it opens up to this giant city. It cuts to it in the last episode of this thing, and it's just a desert. Like it hasn't been burned or scorched or anything, but they just redrew it as a giant desert. And all of a sudden, the forest where you had seen many scenes happen in the past is just gone. There's no trees anywhere in sight.
What?
Yeah, it's just weird. It was a very weird last season.
Like, are they maybe they're trying to imply that deforestation occurs? I don't know.
No, like all we know is that season happened, and Dave and Dan, those are the two show writers, they had one last interview before the show aired, and they said after this airs, we are going to take our families and just kind of go incognito for a very long time. And there hasn't been
Wait,
as far as I
wait,
understand,
what?
yeah, as far as I understand, there hasn't been a shred of interview since then. They haven't talked to anybody. I don't know. Where's their Twitter page?
Were these the show writers from like the beginning, or?
Yeah, they had it ever since the beginning. That's why everyone was so in love with them. Because they did such.
That is so interesting. I
Yeah,
had no idea that was the case.
yeah, they did such justice. I'm trying
Were
to
they
see.
like trying to burn bridges with like some executives?
I don't know, man. Yeah,
I,
like maybe HBO did them wrong and they just decided like, screw them. Hold on.
yeah, maybe they were just like, okay, fine, you want us to like make a bad show, we'll make a bad show for you.
Seriously, I'm trying to. Am I getting the names wrong? I can't find them on here. Game of Thrones, Dave and Dan. Maybe it was. Wait. Game of Thrones showrunners explain themselves, and the internet is angry again. Oh man, I've got stuff to read. The audio is now available for free. They're describing their pitch and how nervous they were. They pitched to Carolyn Strauss, who has a reputation of being a tough pitch. They're very nervous because of how bad we wanted it. What? David is describing his pre-meeting. Here's the quote. We don't know why he trusted us with his life's work when they were talking to George R. R. Martin.
Well, when was that?
I don't know. David is describing his pre-meeting with George R. R. Martin, questioning their bona fides, and he says, we didn't really have any idea what we were doing. We have never done TV, and we didn't have any. We don't know why he trusted us with his life's work. What the hell's going on? This doesn't make any sense.
I think this is something you need to research more about later.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then I'll get back to you on this. This is so strange. So yeah. So anyways, I just hope you understand. Like Game of Thrones, there's a reason everyone was obsessed with it. It was one of the most beautifully, perfectly written shows I've ever seen. The books were amazing too, but just as far as TV shows go, it really was like the golden standard for television up until that last season. And at some point, you really should check it out.
Well, I feel like knowing how bad the last season is, it's definitely removes some of the temptation to want to watch the whole thing.
It's just weird, man. I don't.
Oh, by the way, I love how you have Final Fantasy VII Remake twice on here.
Do I?
On April 11th and on April 24th.
Hey, the second one says completed. The first one was my initial thoughts. Now I've finished it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I had an idea.
It's just funny looking up there and seeing it twice.
Wait, what?
Like, oh man, I really can't wait to talk about this.
That's what I should do for topics. I'll just post them like 4 times. And I'll just tell you, no, it's like 30 minutes per topic. So we'll just do these and then we'll do yours. And you're like, no, that's the same topic. Okay.
Okay, fine. We'll spend 10 minutes on each topic.
Yeah.
Times 4.
Give me 10 minutes on Doom Eternal. How do you like it?
Oh, I don't have 10 minutes on it.
Well, what do you...
I haven't played that much of it, but...
How much have you played?
Only 3 hours, maybe?
Yeah, it's about the same as me.
Which is a shame because I was pretty excited for it. But... Especially, it's not Factorio and it's not multiplayer in the sense that I'm going to be playing it with the boys.
Yeah, it's not co-op.
So so I usually don't feel like playing it in the first place, and then also what I have played of it, it's just not, something's off about it.
Yeah,
especially knowing that, especially with the whole thing around Mick Gordon, the composer of the soundtrack, getting basically denied mixing the soundtrack for its official release by what we assume are just Bethesda executives who wanted the OST out like sooner rather than later. So the mixing was all off, and then Mick Gordon, was all annoyed. Addendum to that, actually, apparently, I think he's still going to be releasing his own mix. So I think he is actually going to get his own release too.
Is he allowed to? Like, don't they own that, or?
Well, they do, so it'd be up to them, like if they want to allow him or not. But I don't know if people raised enough ruckus, or if that was a rumor as well. So it's not actually confirmed. But I sure hope it's true. Regardless, like having like that in the back of my head as well is like, I really, and knowing. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, Bethesda's the new EA, but it's like, man, I feel like there's some stuff in this game that could be better if it's just it felt like someone had guided it in the wrong way.
Yeah, I think that there's been a trend with this and with Fallout 76 and everything. It seems like there's been a trend in the past 5 years ish to make it much more corporate and to make it much less um player oriented and art oriented. It's kind of pushing in the opposite direction right now. To
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like much more of a AAA game
Mhm.
than Doom 2016 did.
Man, I'm okay. One of these days, I'm gonna stop making you use that as a swear word. I know you have valid reasons to use it as a swear
No,
word.
no, no, no. But I know it's not. Doesn't mean it's an automatically a bad game. I just mean it generally has more design choices that apply to like that
Okay, gotcha.
general type of game.
Okay.
Like not as opposed to like it has the UI of I don't know, God of War as opposed to the UI of Factorio or something.
Yeah.
Because Factorio is just a little indie game, and the something like God of War they would put months and months of work into. They probably have a whole team of dedicated people just for the UI to make it look as flashy as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, although this game was, I don't know, incredibly well polished, I was amazed at the amount of polish they put on Doom 2016. Like, it just kind of blew me out of the water. It just ran
Yeah,
so
it
smoothly.
was really good.
It was amazing.
And Doom Eternal runs well for me as well.
Yeah.
But there's just some little things that fell off. I should have written them down.
Yeah.
But like one of them was. So actually, okay, I remember a couple of them now.
Okay.
So if you want to read the codex, which is the little pickups you can get that give you backstory and lore and all that, if you're interested in the Doom lore. So what you can do is you can go there, and some of them have the little text box, but it gets cut off because there's so many words. So you can't click on the codex to actually read it. You have to move your hand all the way over to press enter to read it. But then you're like, oh, I want to go back. So you press escape. No, that closes the menu entirely. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of little design decisions like that are hard to remember, but they just feel off. I'm like this. I don't know. Maybe it's nitpicky, and it is, but
I don't think
it's still
so.
just it kind of soured the experience when they all add up.
I mean, I kind of agree with you. Doom Eternal, I think, more than any other game, I think it really relates a lot to Super Meat Boy. Like, those two seem like just two peas in a pod to me. Because Super Meat Boy, I don't remember the last time you played it, but the entire game was built on this idea of the player feeling the momentum of the game. And it was so well received because that momentum was like never broken. The soundtrack never cut off when you died. Just all of the splooshes and splotches that your little meat square made whenever it hit a wall was just absolutely perfect. And all of the problems I've had with Doom Eternal are in the exact same boat as you, where it's like I'm enjoying the game, but then every 5 minutes it feels like I'm hitting like a bump in the road. Like you're just like, oh, okay, that was kind of shaky, but all right, we're gonna keep going. So, oh, there's another one. Like it's just these tiny little things that just kind of kill the momentum a little bit. And Doom Eternal is
And they throw you out.
yeah,
Off.
and Doom Eternal is all about being a giant badass guy with a gun going through and killing everything. And you go, you want to walk through the place and just feel like a god just sweeping through it when you're doing well. But it never felt like that to me.
But the original Doom remake did do that.
Yeah, 2016 was
much
wonderful.
better than Doom Eternal does, I think. And it's a shame because, and I love the soundtrack, and
it's a great soundtrack.
I love what they do with this. I love what they do with the soundtrack too, where they make it dynamic.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if you've heard how it's done or not, but they have different intros and they have different like breakdowns, different choruses, different endings and such. And the game will just randomly pick one out of the track to just throw in there.
Really?
And it'll also keep track of your combat. So based on like the amount of enemies and how many enemies you're killing, it'll give you like more heavy music if you're like really just going at it.
That's
and then
momentum.
once the enemies start to die down, like usually that's when the music starts to like it plays not a breakdown, but it like starts to fade out into the ambient filler tracks in between battles.
Yeah, exactly.
So like a system like that's fantastic. But even having and it actually really helps with immersion, but even having that and yet still feeling like something's just trying to like pull you out of it.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing.
I do think the saving grace of it though so far is that all of the nitpicks that I've seen and that you've seen, my major nitpick, I keep saying that, but I'll just clarify. The one that I'm really talking about is the the amount of bullets that Doom guy gets, and how
Yeah, I'm
often you have to
pretty sure
reload.
like everyone hates that.
Yeah, where you have to, and just to explain it for everyone listening, like you run out of bullets incredibly quickly. Like within 30 seconds, you will be out of ammo again, like after it being fully stocked out. And so you'll have to go around and find someone to murder in like a visceral way. Like you have to go up and chainsaw them in half, and then bullets fly out of them. And that's a great feeling. But give me a little bit more ammo. Like it kept killing it. I kept
Yeah.
kept stopping and being like, oh, I'm out of ammo. I gotta find something. Okay, there's a guy to kill. I'll run over to him really quick, and then it's 5 seconds of running, and then I don't know. It kept doing
So
that.
that whole system, the way I see it is that it's made to obviously make you use the more tools that you have at your disposal.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to use a plasma rifle after you run out of ammo for, all your other guns. Like you have to use all your guns because you're just not going to have enough ammo for just one gun to keep using it.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem with that is that oftentimes you find guns you like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get good at like every single gun. You just want to play with the guns that you like and you have fun.
Yeah.
But the way they designed the whole system makes it feel like you have to use as many things as possible to make sure you get as much. It's like they tried to make it. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it again, but it felt more like a AAA game where they have all these little different things that they want you to use. So they take away the fun of just like doing what you want.
Yeah, I think they could have just implemented it better. Like instead, what they could have done instead of just making you have very low ammo limits, is maybe each gun like has a 2 minute cooldown, and then once it hits that in your, the gun that you're not using your offhand gun. If you just wait 2 minutes and you get like a really cool visceral attack the next time you use it, so you're constantly flipping them out to make everything more awesome. I don't know. It seems this is the point I was trying to make a minute ago. It seems like all of the things that they've messed up so far, I think the saving grace of it is that they kind of seem like they could just be fixed in an update. Like the menus, the amount of ammo frustrating people. Like I don't think anything is fundamental to the way the game has been built. I think they can make this a really amazing game with just a few little tweaks. It doesn't seem too
Well, I
hard.
haven't heard much about any patches they're going to be doing, and I don't know if they will be doing many.
Yeah,
but
they'll keep it close to home.
This is the biggest problem I have with this type of game because they want you like a Bethesda account, and it has like online only or always online features and such. So if it
Speaking of
wasn't
which.
that type of game, you know what a simple mod would be the fix to this. Someone could just increase the ammo count.
Yeah.
And then everyone would be happy because they'd just be like, oh yeah, you want to play Doom Eternal? Yeah, just install this mod. And most people just like playing it like that. So it's probably better if you start out like that.
Yep.
But no, you can't do it with this type of game. And that's frustrating.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just hard when people's money starts getting twisted up in it, and it's hard to do anything, and it constrains you in really evil ways. I've got another, I've got another evil video game topic. If you wanna change, do you have anything more to say on Doom Eternal?
Oh, did you want to switch over to Final Fantasy VII?
Nope. Okay, I don't think you know about this one. And I'm really
I was baiting you with that, but
thank you. I do appreciate that. I'll end with Final Fantasy just because this one leads in so incredibly well with what you're talking about. It's a complete continuation of it. Okay, so this has to do with Valorant. So for this, I'm just going to start reading a couple lines from an article off of techspot.com. Is that okay?
Wait, from where?
Techspot.com. Is that fine? Do you want me to find another source? I think TechSpot's fine.
That's fine, I guess. I just haven't heard of that.
Okay. All right. Well, it was just the one. There's a whole bunch of them, but I'll use this one because I really like their what should we call it? The title of the topic. Immediately, I'm expecting to hear a groan from you the moment I finish this. All right?
Okay, I'm excited now.
Techspot.com. Written by Cal Jeffrey. April 15th, 2020, 2:42 p.m. Valorant's anti-cheat software loads kernel-based driver onto system boot. Now, how do you feel so far?
So I heard something about this.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, that's a little ridiculous. But then I read something about how, oh yeah, this uses something that even a game like Apex also uses, similar, where they're like
It does?
where they're like kernel based or something weird. I can't remember the exact terminology, but it sounds like they want to get below the operating system.
Yeah.
They want to get below user space so they can detect things way easier.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can understand that. And Apex does it. I'm sure it's a lot more common than you think. And then I read that you had to restart your computer just to play Valorant
J-
after it's installed.
Jacob, it frustrated me so much. Last night I was playing with a whole bunch of guys, and oh my goodness. So okay, so it's in the I don't know. Is it in my system tray?
Can
Yeah,
I? So real
go
quick
for it.
though,
Yeah.
I want to explain why restarting your computer just to play would be a little weird.
By the way,
Is
the
because
software is called Vanguard. In case you want to use the software name.
okay. But I expressed to you before how I find it frustrating how Windows has to restart to install updates when something like Linux doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But that implies though that they're just they have to install some like really deep stuff just to monitor your computer and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, it's really bad. It's honestly, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't know if okay, so you know that I'm playing on a friend's computer right now. I'm kind of debating whether or not because I'm planning on buying a new computer for myself within the next month or so. Once I do I want to re-download Valorant? Like I'm honestly not sure at this point. Um, so okay, let me tell you my experience with it. Okay, so this thing's called Riot
Okay,
Vanguard.
yeah, I'm very interested to know.
So Riot Vanguard is it has an icon in your system tray. So to its credit, it lets you know this thing is on there. Like it's really good about that. And whenever you're using, sometimes this will pop up even when you're just doing random things online. If you're just using your computer, every once in a while, you'll get a pop-up on there that just says like, hey, Vanguard just blocked something because we thought it might possibly be, something that interacts with our game. And we don't want that happening. And I've had it happen once or twice. I think I was just like browsing Discord, like some server on Discord, looking through things, and this thing popped up. And so it says under it, like if you want to know more about how to stop this, click here. So it's like, okay, you know what? I don't really want this happening. I know there's a way to turn it off from being on all the time. It'll only turn on when the game is on. Which, by the way, this thing is always on. This thing does not turn off. Like you can't.
Yeah, that was surprising too.
Yeah.
Hearing that from you just now is that there's a little icon would great, but if the game's not on, why is that on?
Yeah, it gets a little more sketchy when you know that this thing comes from a 100% owned Chinese company. But I digress. Anyways, so there's a little thing to like opt out. So if I right click on it, said you can right click on the thing on there, and right there I have a thing that says exit Vanguard. So I hit that the other day, and so it turned it off, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll just worry about it later. I'm not gonna have it on right now. So I go up into load. I go to load up Valorant because I wanted to play with everyone. So I load up the game, and it says no, you're not allowed to play this because Vanguard isn't on. And so I'm like, okay, I have to turn this thing on. So I go and search in my search bar, and Vanguard's not there, and I can't find it anywhere. So I go online and I start Google. This is really frustrating because everyone's trying to jump into a match, and I start Googling like, how do I turn this thing back on? And so I finally find out from them that it uninstalls itself once you unclick it. So you have to reinstall it off of their site, or you have to like tell the program to reinstall it in order to continue playing your game. So I went and I finally did that. And then I had to restart my computer in order to use the program.
Oh my gosh.
But that didn't work because I hadn't. Sorry, keep going.
Sorry. No, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyways,
how did you fix it?
That restart didn't work because I hadn't turned on the Vanguard before I had started Valorant. So I had to restart a second time. So it took me 2 restarts to turn on this game again, just because I didn't want to be monitored by a kernel-based software made by a Chinese company. That's what I had to do for Valorant. Man. Yeah. So what were you going to say?
I mean, I'm just glad you're validating some of the apprehension I had in the first place of getting the game. Because I didn't even like the whole system they had set up for getting beta keys of how like, oh yeah, you have to play the game we have for you over. You have to watch Twitch streams and stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I mean, it was kind of nifty.
Like that was, obviously it's a very minor thing. Yeah. But I'm like, just give me an email address. I'll give you my email address, and then you can email me if I can get in or not.
Yeah.
Do it how every other company has got. Don't make me play some stupid game. And then hearing stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, I really don't care about this game even more now.
Yeah, it really bugged me. So I'm going to keep playing it while I'm on this computer, but the moment I get a new one, I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
yeah.
I actually don't think I will get it now just because I hate restarts so much.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of worried about telling you, but I'm like, you know what? Nah, he needs to know. He needs to know this thing is doing this. It was
I don't like restarts because every night I just put my computer on hibernate because oftentimes I have like, my music playing and it's in the middle of like a song, so I can just, kick back up from where I was, or I can just like, I don't have to go through the process of starting all my programs back up. I have like Windows Explorer tabs open that I don't want to have to get back up.
Yep.
And sometimes I'll just like want to, I'll be in the middle of a Blender project. I have all sorts of programs open.
Yeah.
I just hibernate my computer. So I hate restarts.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah, it's
and so,
gross. It's just gross.
So I particularly dislike that.
Yep. Okay. I need to wash that taste in my mouth. Will you let me
Tell me something that does make you happy.
All right.
Tell me about something that does bring you joy, Tim.
I'll tell you about something that brings me joy.
What do you like?
Final Fantasy VII.
How did you like the Final Fantasy VII remake?
Man.
Did you enjoy it?
Okay.
That's a big sigh, sir.
So, let me tell you what's been going on just in the most recent developments.
Okay.
The one thing that this game left me with was a like incredibly large taste and hunger for Final Fantasy VII again. So I re-downloaded it on my phone. All of Square Enix's library is available through the Android store and iOS store.
Oh.
Yeah, and
I had no idea.
Yeah, it runs really well on there. And the nice thing about it, so you know a little bit about, I'm sure you understand, like JRPGs, they like to have turn-based mechanics that take a long time, and there's these random battle sequences. Square Enix had enough foresight, and I'm really appreciative. They not only have a little bit of a remaster going on, they look a little bit better than their original counterparts, but they have a bunch of cheat codes hardwired into the game now that you can just turn on. So there's actually a button at the bottom of your screen to just turn off random encounters. So they just won't mess with you at all. So I've actually been able to run through the game and just enjoy the story. And I've been...
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's been really wonderful. So anyways, that's what's been going on in the background. So the big sigh was because I'm honestly not sure which one I enjoyed better at this point. Which I guess...
The one where it just gave you the story, or the one where you got to have the complete package?
Well, okay, so that's... So yeah, all right, that's part of it. So
because that's how I'm viewing it, the differences between these two.
So there's a little bit more than that. One thing that I have a big problem with first of all, I love the remake. I thought they did an amazing job with it. I loved the story, how they fleshed out the characters. Like Square Enix is very good at storytelling, and this is what, like, if this was a book, this would be one of my favorite books of all time. I could gush about the story for a long time, just because I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great piece of literature. The remake though, it handles, and Square Enix has a history of this. It handles battles poorly in my mind. It's got a couple of problems, but the very first problem you run into is I think the difficulty is terrible. So as I was playing this game, I was about 10 hours into it or so. And okay, so I've never rage quit a game before. I've never been that Call of Duty player. That's never happened to me before. That happens so much in this game. I have never been this salty about a boss fight. But it's okay. They're incredibly frustrating. So part of the problem with this is that I come from Dark Souls, and so I'm used to using a character and getting into some kind of boss encounter or just enemy encounter. And I will either dodge roll or dodge out of the way or block, or I'll do something like that, and the game's responsive and it kind of it just kind of works. With this game, the hitbox for everything is like twice the size of the character. So even though you are clearly out of range from whatever attack the enemy's doing, and you've gotten out of the way because you hit the dodge button, because they've added a dodge button for you to use, it will still hit you even if you're way off the screen. Like even if you're way, way out of the way. So it's a bunch of stuff like that started adding up. The animations for things are a little bit slow, and so it was hard to use magic. The way that they handle the encounters too. So what you have is you can always use your base attack, but in order to use a special attack, you have to use an ATB gauge, which is basically a stamina bar. Like don't even think about it. I don't know. The ATB gauge is weird. It's a pullover from their old games. It kind of harkens back to them. It's a stamina bar.
Can I ask a quick?
Yeah.
What does it stand for though?
Attack, battle, something. I don't know. Attack, something. Attack,
sure.
Probably attack, turn, battle. Something having to do with turns. Because what it does is so this thing slowly fills up during the battle. It's not exactly a stamina bar. It's almost an anti-stamina bar. Like you'll get into a fight and it starts slowly filling up, and then when you punch them, it fills up a little bit more. And then once it fills up enough, after a bunch of punching, you can actually use like you can cast fire on them or lightning or something like that. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it just kind of takes a little while to get up there. It feels a little clunky, but again, it's a JRPG, so you kind of just accept it that they're doing it, and it's just
Yeah, there's worse things you could do too.
yeah. I wish they, but it's like they use that as well as an MP gauge, so you're wasting magic points as you're waiting for this thing. So it's almost like there's two economies going on at the same time for you to just use one thing of magic, which was just slightly frustrating. But it was really weird because there's only two difficulties on the game. There's three modes but two difficulties. So there's normal mode, there's easy mode, and then there's classic mode. And classic mode basically turns off all combat and just it doesn't turn off combat, but it pretends that you're doing it like the old game where you're literally just selecting commands. Like it just moves your
Mm-hmm.
character for you through them. So easy mode is basically you can just hit them and they'll die. I really didn't run into too many problems. I had to heal like maybe 3 times. Normal mode, which is the one I played at because I'm like, okay, gotcha. They don't want it to be too hard, so they didn't add a hard mode. There's just a normal mode. It was, oh man, some of the boss encounters were 30 to 40 minutes long, and some of just the normal encounters were too. I dreaded going to any new areas because I knew that I'd have to do like 4 fights before I got there, and each one took minimum 5 minutes, maximum 15 minutes to get through. And then when I got to the boss, I would just have to slowly watch his bar drain over a long period of time. And on more than one occasion, I would die after like that one hit, and I would be set back, an hour or a half hour or something of me fighting this guy. It was just, oh, man, it was just hard. So
So these are all things that they added in the remake, right? Or like refinements.
yeah,
Or is this how combat worked in the original?
so in the original, they did a normal it wasn't turn based, but it was almost turn based. It was it was the turn based style of you have three guys standing over here and then three guys over here, and then you'd press attack, and then the one guy would go attack, and then it'd be the next guy's turn. It would do that style. But they'd add an ATB gauge, in the original game, so it would have a time element to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, so there was like there was a time when you'd have to wait for that to fill up, but it basically worked like a turn thing because you were still basically taking turns with the new characters. It was fine, and it still took a little while, but I don't know, it just worked better. There was nothing like these are 3D battles, and I can't believe they didn't get the hitboxes to work. But at one point I was so incredibly angry. Emily she almost looked. I talked to her right afterwards, and she was like, "Yeah, I think you need to switch difficulties for this game." And I was like, "Yeah, I already switched to easy." She was like, "Okay, I needed you to because like I couldn't watch you play that for that. You were getting too mad at that thing. Like I was really close to throwing a controller, Jake. I've never. That's never been me. My goodness, it was just ugh. Anyways,
I think you might have been a little emotionally invested in that game.
yeah. Okay, so I switched that about halfway through, and then I just had the second half to play with the lighter difficulty and easy mode. I've got to say, I think it's just the way to play that game. It was just, I know it was a breeze, and I was able to enjoy everything they've done with it. That game is absolutely beautiful. I love what they've done with all of the characters and all of the cutscenes. The only gripe that I have with it is that it was too short. It was just frustrating with where it kind of left off. I think I told you, but the game's about 35 hours at the end by the time I finished it after doing all the side quests and stuff. And all of that game takes place within the first 5 hours of the original game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, maybe 10 hours of the original
Wow,
game.
that's actually crazy. That's
Yeah, they did a
Wait,
lot.
how did they stretch it out for so long?
So it was a lot of
like if it was just 5 hours originally, that's 6 times as long.
yeah, it was a lot of backstory and different developments. So some of it was just filler, and that was the most frustrating part. Like in one area, you have to like climb through the rafters of this, like you're on scaffolding, and you're in the scaffolding for like an hour and a half trying to find like all the nicks and crannies and stuff, and then there's random encounter battles, and you're just trying to like walk across the room. Like that's all you've been doing for this like scaffolding portion of the game. There was a couple frustrating sections like that, but honestly, that was fairly minimized. It was a light point. I'd take like a couple points off of it for that, but it really wasn't bad. Most of it had to do with them adding a secondary story. So you're probably not too familiar with Final Fantasy VII, but the basic story of it is that you start the game off as part of you don't exactly know who your character is, but they've just joined this eco-terrorist group that's trying to blow up a reactor that's using this one chemical. In the game, it's called Mako. It's kind of like a spiritualistic version of oil. So imagine like a big
I
yeah. So imagine
like that.
yeah. So they're fracking this thing called Mako out of the ground, and it's hurting the planets. That's what they believe. And it's
Okay.
yeah. So it's basically acting like oil. I really like the way they set up the whole thing. But you're trying to stop all of this fracking from going on and them using this stuff to just like power electricity and everything. So it starts with you blowing up a reactor. So the first couple hours of the game, I think the first 7 hour, I'm thinking it's somewhere between 5 and 10. I've heard people say 5, but I think that's a little bit short. The first section is you go to blow up this reactor. It goes off without a hitch. It's wonderful. Hurrah, hurrah. You go to do it a second time and they catch you and then you fall off of it and you end up, in the middle of a church, like, blown off and almost dead and stuff. And then you get seen by this girl. And then, a little bit more time goes on and you find out about this big diabolical plan by this big evil corporation to basically just kill everyone that you've known in this, place where you're living. You're living in the slums and they're about to kill everyone in the slums. And that's basically the first couple hours. And then once they kill everyone in the slums, you go to exact your revenge and then blah. That's 5 hours of the game right there. That's the intro
Okay.
for Final Fantasy.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. And first of all, like right there, isn't that a cool plot for a game? Like I really like that plot.
Yeah. No, I like that too.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anyways, so that's the first couple hours. So it was where was I going with this? What was I saying?
Yeah, I can't remember why you started giving a synopsis of everything.
Right. So what the game does is it says, okay, we're gonna go through that whole section, but in between each, quote unquote mission, like you going to the reactors and stuff, you're gonna do side quests first. There's gonna be things for you to do around town. People need help. I think the first one was they needed help changing their water filters, and you needed extra cash, so you went and changed everyone's water filter for them because they paid you.
Hang on, real quick. The way this is making me think about it is that the world is, there's going to be genocide, but first you need to help the old lady across the street.
All right. First of all, this is a JRPG. They will do that kind of stuff to you, but
I mean, every game technically does that if it's. But
oh yeah. So this character that you're playing, he's not really. They say it multiple times. I'm only in it for the money. He's like this moody anime guy that your sister would love. He's just like, just a super moody, like, I just want the money. I'm just here because I'm super awesome and badass and you're asking me to kill people. So I'm going to do it for the money. So he doesn't actually care about the terrorism, it seems like in the beginning. So he's more just trying to get cash. So, sorry. So because you're just in the slums, that's what people need done. Like there's no good running water in the slums. You just have to help them out with that. There's some rabid dogs and they might hurt somebody. So can you please go take care of it? We'll pay you a little bit from the from the pot that the town has. It's just little things like that. And it was really cool because it was some nice world building. So you end up caring a lot more about the characters. So when this big diabolical plan starts coming to fruition, you actually have a lot of stake in the place that you're in. Whereas in the original game, there was none of that. You'd seen people walk by. There was a couple lines of dialogue from them, but you didn't actually care about anyone living in the town where, everyone was about to die. You just kind of were like, oh, I should stop that. The people are going to die. We should, this is not a good thing. Yeah.
Poor people.
Yeah, exactly. So it was cool that they started doing that, and they spent, I think, a respectable amount of time. There's about 6 side quests before each thing, and the side quests were pretty short. Like it was, except for a couple battles, like it was, just walk to this area, do this, and maybe 5 to 10 minutes per side quest. In each of these little sections. So it was really cool. But they do stuff like that, and then they would actually build out all new characters. Well, not new characters, but they, some characters that only had 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. There was actually a whole subplot where you had to go to their parents' house to, I don't know. It was, how do I explain? I'm trying to do this without giving too much away because it's not worth spending that much time on it. One of the characters feels bad that you blew up the reactor so large because some people got hurt in the explosion. So she wants to use like a different explosive. So you have to help her break into a place, and first you have to go to her parents' house for something. So it was cool, like learning more about those people, and it was cool learning about the whole thing. And then besides that, they started adding like all new stuff. They added a whole new plot about like the spirit of the planet trying to stop. I don't know. It started going like way overboard, and I had a problem with the last fight, but overall, man, I love my Final Fantasy, and I'm loving playing the game again. I've spent every night this week playing like 2 hours of the original, just because I've enjoyed it so much. I wish there was more of it.
Well, I guess there will be more of it.
I hope so. It ended weirdly, like, final. I don't know. Maybe they were thinking. Did you want to make a Final Fantasy joke? I feel like there's a pun coming on.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it seems like there's gonna be more, but they ended it so concretely. It just I don't know. It was weird because it's only the first couple hours of the game. I'm like, did you? It was good that they made it, one arc. Like I'm glad it's concentrated. So if this is the only one that exists, it still kind of makes sense. But I don't know. I just hope there's more.